Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Rambling About Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Nick Pearl, and today we're talking King and Queen of the Ring. And if you know me, I love a good tournament. So let's look at these brackets and let's see who I would have personally win both sides, the male and female, of the King and Queen of the Ring. So currently, Monday Night Raw happened, and we have in the first round Gunther and Sheamus, where Gunther was victorious in an excellent match. I had a very long night on Monday. I worked, went straight from work to orchestra rehearsal, and then got home after 10 o'clock. I said, look, I'm not going to watch the whole episode of Raw. I just don't have the time. But I need to see Sheamus versus Gunther Part 3. And man, they did not disappoint. What a freaking match this was. I'm shocked that Sheamus didn't get the win, honestly. I think if you were going to give Sheamus the win, this would have been the time to do it. But they didn't. And I'm assuming the trilogy's finished, unless they want to do a best of 7. They could always go to do a best of 7, and Sheamus would have to win the next 4 in a row. But Sheamus did post. He said that there will be no part 4, and he was all bruised, all welts. There was one chop that Gunther gave this guy right in the back of the neck, right when they came back from commercial. I said, ooh, that looked nasty. And ooh, it looked nasty when they zoomed in on it. But Gunther defeated Sheamus. Excellent match, and Sheamus tapped. Something he doesn't usually do. Kind of a surprise. Now, the other first round matches that we had on Raw, we had Ilya Dragunov versus Ricochet. And let me tell you, I love Dragunov. There was no way the inaugural WWE Speed Champion Ricochet was going to be defeating Dragunov in his official main roster call-up debut. They had a nice 10-minute match. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but I saw tons of highlights. Dragunov freaking grabs him, does an overhead suplex, and freaking Ricochet flips over. Come on the outside of the ring, and the intensity that this guy brings. There is nobody on the roster that can even compare to this guy. Dragunov is so freaking good. And thank God he's finally called up and he's on Raw, where he has the opportunity to put on these banger matches every single week. They have the time. They got a 3-hour time slot. If he was on SmackDown, that's not happening. Guaranteed. The other matchup you have Jey Uso, who was a late replacement in this tournament, going up against Finn Balor. Either of these men could have won, but you gave it to Jey Uso. No issues here. Jey Uso, main event Jey. Crowd in France loved them. No problems there. Finn Balor, you gotta, they're cooking something up with the Judgment Day, like I've been saying for weeks. And I'm not sure if Finn Balor will be a member of the Judgment Day for much longer. The other matchup in the first round that we did not get on Raw, and I'm very upset about this, by the way, because I would have loved to have seen it, is Kofi Kingston versus Rey Mysterio. I don't know if they've ever had a singles match. I could be wrong. I can't think of one. But Kofi and Rey, they moved it to a live event. Come on, man. Why? You better film the thing. Don't just post the results, because I want to see this match. Kofi and Rey, you're probably going to get Rey Mysterio beating Kofi Kingston here, because you had Gunther already feuding with the New Day previously. I think Gunther and Rey would be a breath of fresh air, and that's the ultimate underdog versus the Ring General. So that would be my round 2 matchup, Gunther and Rey. And then the other round 2 matchup you have is Dragunov versus Uso. And if I'm booking this, you're going to have Gunther go over and you're going to have Dragunov go over. And your finals for the Raw side are going to be none other than a rematch. You're going to have Gunther versus Dragunov on free television, by the way. Could you go with Gunther winning? Yes. But if you want to establish Dragunov as that insane force with the intensity that he brings, you should have Dragunov defeat Gunther clean. The last time they had a match, I'm pretty sure Dragunov tapped Gunther out. Let's have it be a pinfall off of the smash that he does. You put Dragunov in the finals, he's automatically seen as a threat. And then anybody from the stacked SmackDown side, other than Tama Tonga, It would just be seen as an insane match. Speaking of SmackDown side, let's go to the SmackDown side of the men's King of the Ring tournament. AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. I don't know. I don't know about this one, man. I mean, you can have Styles, who just lost to Cody. I don't think Styles should be dropping back to back. At the same point, Randy Orton also just lost in the tag match with against the Bloodline. So you could flip a coin on this. It's probably going to be Randy Orton, and I'll tell you why. Because the matchup following this in the first round is Baron Corbin versus Carmelo Hayes. I would absolutely love for Baron Corbin to win, but they're feeding him to Carmelo Hayes, and I'm pissed about that. Because Corbin has had an excellent run in NXT, and now they're calling him up just to use him the same way they were before. And I'm really not happy. Really not happy. But you're going to have Carmelo Hayes beat Corbin, and then you get Orton versus Hayes in the second round. The reason why I think this is going to happen is because Orton's kind of that guy that they'll bring somebody up from NXT and have him go up against and to really prove themselves. They did it with Keith Lee, and Keith Lee got a clean win over Orton. Nobody remembers this, but Keith Lee did beat Orton clean. So if you're talking big exposure for this guy, you're going to have Carmelo Hayes and you're going to have Randy Orton. And I would have Carmelo go over. I would have Carmelo make it to the next round. Because looking at the other first round matches, you have LA Knight versus Santos Escobar. You're going to have LA Knight make it. And you're going to have Bobby Lashley versus Tama Tonga. There's no way Tama Tonga is advancing. And if he does, I don't know. I don't want to even think of a world where Tama Tonga does. But you're going to get Bobby Lashley versus LA Knight. Yeah. And technically, those are the last two people that had a feud with Bray Wyatt, if you think. LA Knight and Bray Wyatt finished their feud, and then Bobby Lashley was supposed to go into the feud with Bray Wyatt heading into WrestleMania. And that never happened. So this could be a very good matchup, and maybe Uncle Howdy shows up. You never know. That's my fantasy booking, people. So LA Knight versus Bobby Lashley. And again, you could go both ways with this. But since I've got Carmelo Hayes advancing, I don't think Bobby Lashley's going to advance. I think Carmelo's going to screw Lashley. And you're going to get LA Knight to advance. So then moving on here, you would have Carmelo Hayes versus LA Knight. I would love them to give it to LA Knight. I really would. But if you want the NXT guys to be seen as big-time players, you make the finals of the King of the Ring tournament Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes is him. You put him up against Cody Rhodes. You put him up against Randy Orton. You put him up against Bobby Lashley. In a feud right now, at least. Ultimately, your winner at King of the Ring is going to be Ilya Dragunov. Perfect pick. You could have LA Knight, but then it would be King Knight, which is a play on words. If Triple H weren't booking this, I could see that happening. But that would be my winner, Ilya Dragunov, King of the Ring. Moving on to the women's Queen of the Ring tournament. And you have women here who are fantastic, but don't get the opportunity to show their skills. Many of which are Ivy Nile and Zoe Stark. I saw clips of this match. I don't know. Zoe Stark won. It was the right choice in this instance because I don't know if Ivy Nile's ready to be on that big time stage for a tournament of this caliber. I think she does need to work a little bit more, get more confident, much like Maxine Dupree. And they're also in a tag team together on and off. I do love Ivy, don't get me wrong. Zoe Stark advances. And then you have, it was supposed to be Asuka versus Lyra Valkyria, which, oh my God, that matchup right there. Oh, I'm glad they switched it because I don't want to see that match end with shenanigans. Because Asuka and Lyra, I don't know if that would end in a clean win. So Dakota Kai versus Lyra, that's fine too. And Dakota hit Lyra with a sick-looking stomp off the middle rope, I think it was. Oh, Lyra Valkyria. I freaking love this woman. I've loved her since NXT UK. She is just so freaking good. So her moving on, her getting called up, I was so happy. Her moving on to the second round and being a favorite to win the Raw side is a huge plus. I gotta take a deep breath. Okay. Then you got Io Sky versus Natalia. Io Sky advanced. I did not see any clips of this match, but Natalia, she's doing some things down in NXT. I would keep her down there. Keep Natalia in NXT to help the next generation of female talent and hopefully build herself back up. I would love for Natalia to leave the company and maybe go to TNA, where she could really help that division. She's never gotten the opportunity since the SmackDown Women's title reign that she had all those years ago to be a main event player. Let Natalia have that one last great run. She deserves it. She really does. But Io Sky going over here, the former women's champion, good pick. And then the other match you have in the first round, Shayna Baszler versus Zelina Vega. Zelina is the former queen of the ring in a tournament that lasted maybe, 10 or 12 minutes in total. And then some of these matches already went 10 minutes. So this queen of the ring is so much better than the last one because they're being able to wrestle. Besides the point, Shayna Baszler also doing some work down in NXT with Lola Vice. You could go both ways with this. Do you want to have Queen Zelina try and reclaim her crown? Or do you want the submission magician, Shayna Baszler, to be built back up as an unstoppable force? Zelina's going to win with a roll-up after Shayna puts her in the clutch. So your second round matches, you'll have Zelina Vega versus Io Sky, and you're going to have Io go to the finals. Zelina's story gets cut short. I'm sorry, girl. And then Lyra Valkyria versus Zoe Stark. If anybody thinks that Zoe Stark is getting to the finals of this tournament, I don't know what you're smoking. You're going to have Lyra Valkyria advance, and you're going to have Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria in the finals for Monday Night Raw's side. And I would absolutely 100% give this to Lyra Valkyria. She's being booked on the same level as Becky Lynch. Io Sky, she's had her time at the top. Yes, she wants to get back there. She wants to be a main event player. Now that she's on Raw, she'll be able to have more TV time, just like Ilya Dragunov. You want to push her. You want people to see what she's capable of. Lyra Valkyria wins the Raw side in an excellent matchup in the main event of Raw against Io Sky. That's how I would do it. On the SmackDown side of the Queen of the Ring tournament, they didn't even announce the brackets, but they announced the matches. So I'm going to do my best to predict the brackets from the matches. You have Candice LeRae versus Naomi. Naomi just took the pin in the women's triple threat. Candice LeRae, they're trying to build up as the bully, the big bully. I would have Naomi go over. I just think that would piss Candice off, and Naomi needs something going for her. She came back. She could only lose so much before you don't feel the glow anymore, and I just don't feel like she's going to be a heel. Naomi goes over in this matchup, moving to the second first-round matchup of Indy Hartwell versus Chelsea Green, and I would have Indy win this one. So Candice LeRae gets very frustrated that her protege advanced and she didn't. Build the tension there. And Indy could really use something going for her other than being the lackey to Candice LeRae. The only way I see Chelsea winning this is if you bring in Mr. Stone to be her manager. They just teased it on NXT when she was walking out to the ring. You never know what they're going to do. The other two first-round matches, you got an interesting one here in Nia Jax versus the former Doudrop, Piper Niven. And thank God she's Piper Niven and not Doudrop. You're going to give this one to Nia. I think Piper, she was in the finals of the previous Queen of the Ring tournament, but she's got nothing going on at all right now. She's just a presence in the ring that's used for other people to beat. Nia Jax, she's being looked as a gigantic force on the SmackDown side right now of the women's roster. Have Nia Jax move on. And the final match of the women's side on SmackDown, Tiffany Stratton versus Blair Davenport. Why they're doing this match now, I have no idea. Queen Tiffy just has a great ring to it. But at the same point, do you really want Blair to lose her first match called up? I'm not the biggest fan of Blair. I'm really not. She can have good matches. She just hasn't clicked for me with her yet. Much like when they had the Riot Squad, when they had Ruby Riott, when she was first on NXT and got called up. I didn't like her. She grew on me eventually, and I think she's great. Blair Davenport is in the same boat for me. I wouldn't have her win this. I think it's a dumb booking decision. I don't think they have an idea of what they want to do with Blair, but you want to book her in the same way that they booked, I'm not going to say it, they booked Bliss, not saying the first name, because freaking my thing's going to go off again. But you book Blair the same way you book Bliss, as the underdog, the last call up that people didn't have high expectations for. But out of everybody that was called up in that time, she ends up having the most fruitful career. Bliss is multi-time women's champion. Blair, she'll get there. So your second round matches, you're going to have Naomi and you're going to have Indy Hartwell. You're going to have Naomi win. And then you're going to have Tiffany versus Nia Jax. This one is very intriguing to me because I see them as being a tag team down the line. But Tiffany versus Nia Jax, Tiffy's time is not now. You're going to have Nia Jax win. Your finals are going to be Naomi versus Nia Jax on the SmackDown side. Nia Jax wins to go face Lyra Valkyria in Saudi in the finals, where you should have Lyra Valkyria win. 100% should, but they're not going to do it. They're actually going to give it to Nia Jax, which is going to upset a lot of people and me. But Nia Jax, she needs something. And if they're not going to give her a championship run right now, Nia Jax as Queen of the Ring, I think it would be for great television, honestly. Nia Jax, she's been doing some good stuff. Haven't always been the biggest fan of her. Absolutely haven't. But her character is interesting right now. And that's all I care about. Let Nia Jax be the Queen of the Ring. Let her be. She's not like most girls. She's the queen. One of two people to be the Queen of the Ring. So that's what I predict. I predict the King of the Ring, Ilya Dragunov. The Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax. What do you guys think? Let me know. Reach out in the comments, on the Instagram, on the YouTube. Let me know if you think I am completely crazy. This has been an excellent episode. Thank you all for listening. I am your host, as always, Nick Pearl, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Let's keep rambling, everybody.
If you're feeling lonely today, come along and throw